The 9/11 event is the most infamous horror in American history, causing heavy casualties and loss of public property. It cast a gloomy shadow over the two prosperous cities of New York and Washington, leaving lasting fear and trauma for the survivors. But along with regret, 9/11 also left behind mysteries of reincarnation and rebirth, and this case was more mysterious than others. In 2007, a pregnant woman named Michial, during her first week of pregnancy, dreamed that she was flying past the burning Twin Towers. She heard a male voice saying that the souls who had died in the 9/11 event were eagerly waiting to reincarnate through her in September. The girl being reborn should be named Seraphine, as it matched her energy. Not long after, at a grocery store, for some reason while pregnant, she saw some signs again and heard a voice saying that these children had all perished in the 9/11 incident. They all needed to return. Later on, when Michial was watching the 9/11 memorial program on TV, her nearly 2-year-old daughter Seraphine, sitting beside her, said she remembered those events. Seraphine also told her mother that her name in a past life was Alain. As a result, when Michial searched the list of 9/11 victims, she discovered that there was a woman named Alain Gentoul. Upon seeing her photo, she was stunned to find that Alain Gentoul and her daughter looked exactly alike. In 2014, the U.S. had a reality TV series that interviewed children with past life memories and their relatives. Kett, born in 2004, could already talk to adults at just a year and a half old. From a very young age, Kett had a particular fear of airplanes. Whenever a plane appeared in the sky, he would tremble all over in fear. Kett often said that he used to work in a tall building and could see the Statue of Liberty from where he worked. Moreover, in the pictures Kett drew, there were often two identical tall buildings with an airplane flying next to them. What confused Kett's mother the most was that the boy was very unhappy with his name and insisted that she change it. Kett's mother later went online to check and was astonished to discover that the name Kett insisted on was actually the name of a 9/11 victim. This led her to believe that her son might very well have been a victim of the 9/11 event in a past life. On a reality TV show, 10-year-old Kett even met some of his friends from a previous life and recounted certain details from that historic day, September 11th, such as the plane crashing into the World Trade Center and being trapped there, the scene of falling from a tall building, being crushed by falling debris, and how he no longer felt anything at that moment because he had already died. In recent years, stories about the reincarnation of 9/11 victims have been widely circulated, and many reports have covered these reincarnation cases. The time when these children were born was about 3 or 4 years after 2007. It's quite possible that, just like the voice in the pregnant woman's dream said, these children died in the 9/11 event and are now coming back. If that's true, then when does a person return after death? And into which family will they be reborn? And who is silently arranging everything? Today, let's explore the mystery of reincarnation in the spiritual realm. Over the past few decades, Western psychological and medical communities have conducted many in-depth studies on reincarnation. Among them, the most famous is Dr. Michael Newton. He can be considered a master of hypnotherapy. In previous videos, we've also mentioned other hypnotherapy experts like Dr. Brian Weiss and Dolores Cannon. But why is the person we're talking about today, Dr. Newton, so special? We'll find out in just a moment. During his work, a very coincidental moment led Dr. Newton to realize that the patient's consciousness, while in a deep trance, had entered a past life. Later, he began using a method called soul regression hypnotherapy to treat patients. During this period, another unexpected opportunity allowed him to guide the patient's consciousness, still in a trance state, into the realm between lifetimes of reincarnation, which is the spiritual world. Pay close attention. This is the key point. What we're talking about here is not past life regression hypnosis, but hypnosis returning to the spirit world. From that point on, he devoted himself entirely to studying this field. Throughout the process, he never publicly disclosed his findings and deliberately avoided reading any books related to mysticism, to prevent preconceived notions from influencing his research. After over 10 years, Dr. Newton eventually developed a model of the spirit world and compiled it into a book, Journey of Souls, published in 1994. Unlike other books on reincarnation, Dr. Newton provided detailed accounts of how, under his guidance, a subject's consciousness could pass through space and time into the realm between lives and recall everything experienced there. It was described clearly in sequence, from leaving the physical world, entering the spirit realm, to the next reincarnation. The book was translated into more than 10 languages and widely circulated. As a result, more and more people around the world wrote to Dr. Newton, asking whether he had any deeper information about the spirit world. Indeed, Dr. Newton did keep some information unpublished, details he believed would be too difficult for people to accept. Eventually, in 2000, Dr. Newton released his second book, Destiny of Souls. His research subjects came from a wide variety of backgrounds, holding different beliefs, life philosophies, and religious faiths, including atheists. However, when they entered a trance state and looked back at the spirit world, the realm between incarnations, they all gave remarkably consistent descriptions. Some even used the exact same words. The spirit world they described was vast, wondrous, pure, and radiant. The energy colors of life there felt light and serene, as if all burdens had been lifted. Beings could freely fly, communicate through telepathy, and their spirits became playful, humorous, and full of close friendship. Dr. Newton also discovered a fascinating phenomenon. Souls in the spirit world exist at different levels, and their energy colors differ accordingly. Soul levels are classified by the color of their energy, ascending in the order of the 7 colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Beings with yellow energy and above can act as guides for ordinary souls, while blue represents a high level and violet signifies the master level. In this realm, higher-level beings treat those below them with great compassion and tolerance, while lower-level souls show deep reverence and respect toward those of higher status. According to Dr. Newton's research currently on Earth, about 3/4 of souls are at the beginner level, while high-level souls number only around 100,000. Most of them belong to groups inclined to help others, work in cultural fields, and lead very simple lives. Souls at the master level no longer need to reincarnate. One of Dr. Newton's major discoveries is that beings belonging to corresponding soul groups in the spirit world will reincarnate together, playing various roles. They may be spouses, parents and children, siblings, friends, or even enemies. Love, hatred, and emotional entanglements in this life will become karmic debts repaid in the next, and between them and neighboring soul groups, various kinds of fated relationships will emerge. Among all fateful connections, the one most unforgettable is that of husband and wife. If a man and woman in this life only have fate but not destiny, then they cannot become family. If they love each other deeply and vow to be husband and wife in the next life, the spirit realm will grant that wish, looking into the next incarnation. One of Dr. Newton's case subjects was a female servant during the Roman era, responsible for cooking for gladiators. She fell deeply in love with one of them. One night, the gladiator confessed his feelings, saying, "I will love you forever." Unexpectedly, he died the very next day in the arena. The woman was heartbroken beyond repair. Such a soul-deep love eventually led to them becoming a married couple in this life. According to Dr. Newton's findings, reincarnations in the spirit realm are arranged by elder beings with higher spiritual authority. When a soul is about to reincarnate, it enters a massive circle of destiny. On a panoramic screen within this circle, the soul can preview parts of the future and even experience some key moments of the coming life. One of Dr. Newton's case subjects, a young man, recalled that in the spirit world's planning studio, he was told to remember the sound of Melinda's laughter, his future wife, to remember her eyes and the scent of her perfume during their first dance together. Melinda, on the other hand, was told to remember that he had large ears, that he stepped on her foot while dancing, and the feeling they shared in that moment. After reincarnation, the man lived in Iowa, while Melinda lived in California. Initially, they didn't know each other at all. The man was even planning to marry his high school girlfriend. Unexpectedly, her family decided to move west, and the two broke up. Following his sister's suggestion, he also moved to California. Arriving there with no family or connections, one day he, who had never shown interest in dancing, suddenly felt like going to a social dance. At that event, he and Melinda met unexpectedly. He danced poorly and stepped on her foot. Melinda laughed, and just like the scenario prearranged in the spirit world, they fell in love at first sight and eventually formed a happy bond. According to Dr. Newton's research, reincarnation can be a matter of choice. When preparing for rebirth, some souls who had committed many wrongdoings in their previous lives feel deep remorse. However, souls in the spirit world do not make excuses for their past mistakes. Instead, they voluntarily choose to repay their karmic debts in the next life. In fact, some souls even willingly select a life of hardship to help refine themselves and elevate their spiritual level. For example, one case study involved a woman who, in a past life during the Nazi era, was imprisoned in a concentration camp with 2 girls and 3 other Jewish women. She did everything she could to help the children in the camp survive. In 1943, however, she died at the age of just 18. All of these events had already been chosen by her while still in the spirit world, and she bravely fulfilled her mission. Of course, there are many other similar cases, but we won't go into more of them here. There are also souls who, because they committed many wrongdoings while on Earth, have had their energy severely damaged. As a result, their entire form appears black, and they are unable to reincarnate immediately. However, they are also not allowed to remain in the spirit world. Instead, they are held in a place resembling an emergency room, where their energy is adjusted. In the distance, that place looks like a dark and murky ocean. Sometimes, they may be immediately sent back to Earth to become the very victims of the crimes they once committed. Imagine someone who had abused and harmed many people. Such a soul might be divided across several lifetimes, experiencing the pain they once caused others. A guiding principle of this realm is that anyone who has committed wrongdoing, whether intentional or not, must make restitution in another life. In the spirit world, the soul will have a discussion with its guide about the lessons from previous lives. Before reincarnating, they will go to a place like a spiritual library to study. There, elder masters with violet energy will instruct them on what they did well, what they did wrong, and how to make up for it in the next life. One subject of Dr. Newton's research was a young man who, in several consecutive lifetimes, died by suicide. At the end of each lifetime, when the young man returned to the spirit world, a stern elder would say to him, "You've come back too early once again. We are very disappointed. Haven't you realized that every time you end your life prematurely, the next reincarnation will only become more difficult? This behavior is selfish and causes pain to those who love you." A few months later, the young man wrote a letter to Dr. Newton, saying that whenever suicidal thoughts came into his mind, he remembered the elder's words and felt too ashamed to face him again. So he gave up the idea of ending his life. Another research subject, Amy, had a past life as a young farm girl in England. At just 16 years old, she was 2 months pregnant. Her fiancé, while fixing their home, tragically fell from the roof and died. In her despair, Amy jumped into a pond and ended her own life. Later, in the spirit world's library, an elder shook his head, approached Amy and said, "You came back too soon." In the spirit world, suicide is considered a serious mistake. Amy, feeling angry and indignant, responded, "If you're so capable, then why don't you try living my life yourself?" And then, the elder unrolled a scroll, and Amy saw an image appear on the screen. The elder, in one of his past lives, had been a young Christian devotee who, refusing to abandon his faith, was torn apart by lions in an ancient Roman arena. The elder then showed another scroll, Amy's. On the screen, it displayed a version of her life in which she had not committed suicide. That life had several potential paths, some leading to relatively positive and fulfilling outcomes. This revealed that the planning of a soul's reincarnation does not follow a single, fixed path. There can be many branches, some lives filled with hardship and difficulty, often meant for spiritual growth. Once a soul endures and overcomes the pain, the course of life can shift, and the future may turn brighter. Dr. Newton encountered many subjects whose past lives had ended in suicide, and he found that afterward, these souls often felt deep sorrow and regret, wondering how they could have been so foolish. Precisely because of these findings, Dr. Newton was able to help many people who had once felt hopeless and suicidal to restart their lives. His conclusions about karmic retribution and destiny when it comes to reincarnation align surprisingly closely with traditional beliefs found in folklore. In the video about the bond between husband and wife, we once mentioned an old saying, "Husband and wife are bound by karma from past lives, whether good or bad. Without karmic ties, they cannot come together. Children are either here to repay kindness or to collect debts. They are karmic creditors or debtors from the past." Whether the relationship between spouses in this life is joyful or painful, both sides are, in essence, repaying what they owe each other. This may be the very reason they were able to become a couple in this lifetime. The same applies to children. Some come to repay love, while others come to collect old karmic debts. Beyond this explanation in Eastern culture, the ancient Greeks also had similar ideas and records. Pythagoras, the famous Greek philosopher and mathematician, whose theorem is still taught in geometry today, claimed to have memories of 4 past lives. He stated that the soul is immortal, capable of transforming into other beings or forms of existence, and must reincarnate within a cyclical pattern. Nothing is ever truly new. You might wonder why descriptions of reincarnation or the spirit world sometimes seem to differ. But these inconsistencies don't come from people being wrong. Rather, they are describing what they actually saw. And what they saw may not be the absolute truth. It may only be a part of the greater truth. Whether it's an individual, a soul in the spirit world, or even a deity or a Buddha, all exist on different levels. Therefore, what they see and what they comprehend will naturally differ. But no matter what the perspective is, perhaps the shared purpose is to tell us that these things truly exist. As the saying goes, a single passing glance in this life could come from 500 deep gazes in a past life. The person who passes through your thoughts today might be a new destined bond that has crossed 100 lifetimes to find you. So cherish every encounter in your life. If you like this video, please leave a comment and share it with at least one friend. Thank you all so much. Goodbye, and see you again next time.